dating right now?
Yeah.
Look at that! We split them up on the couch.
Get in there. Get your handful. Get your
I know,
handful.
right?
God, this was the highlight of the reunion, in my opinion. Yes, I'm biased. I've always liked Raven and SK. I did try to sort of justify why they were behaving a certain way as compared to everybody else. And so for me, I am there with Vanessa cheering on, when it's revealed that they're dating and they've made up and stuff. Because, oh my God, I really like them. I really like them. I get so excited. I just want to talk. Anyway, hey there, it's Valerie again. Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love is Blind, season 3, the reunion. Um, I could not be more excited for SK and Raven, given how, what happened at their wedding. But I think for me, I've always said this in all my reviews, whatever show I'm reviewing, that there's nothing I love more than seeing growth in people from the time they start filming until the show ends. And Raven sort of and SK embody that, because from where they started and their conversations and how they were talking, and the fact that Raven was very standoffish in the pods, to her suddenly opening up, when she was doing jumping jacks, when Batiste was talking to her. And I remember saying that the reason why she did that, in my opinion, was the fact that she wasn't interested in Batiste. I think she was more interested in SK, because SK, when he started talking about his father and the fact that he came from a polygamous family, she immediately stopped to listen to what he was saying. And to me, that signified that she was interested in him and wanted to know as much as she could about him. When they left the pods, they went on their or to the getaway for the couples. From there, they had their journey where you could actually see their progress. And the fact that Raven kept trying to learn more about SK, more about his culture, and sort of was willing to accommodate, his wishes for their wedding, willing to sort of incorporate, his culture into everything that they did, was very keen to get on, to be accepted by SK's mom, because she said, she knew how special she was to him. And so for me to hear that they are making it work now, to me means a lot, because at the end of the wedding, his mother apologized on his behalf, SK. And I think SK's mom going to apologize to Raven and sort of console Raven, I think is one of the things that might have sort of allowed her to be more accepting of SK when he came to apologize, because apparently SK was the first one to approach her to apologize. And then they sort of had a conversation and they decided to date. They say they're seriously dating. I could not be more proud of them. And I remember during the season, there was a time they said SK moves that Raven, I think, was talking to someone and she was saying, there is an SK time. And I think this is shown that because of his time and because Raven really loved this guy and was really willing to put in the work and sort of accommodate his time and his wish. This is why they are where they are, because she didn't push him to say, you have to marry me by this date, or that's it. You have to tell me you love me by this date, or that's it. They were willing to learn and accommodate each other's sort of needs and make sure that they were moving in an upward direction. And I could not be more proud of them. I think if there's anything, if they do go ahead and get married, I can see them being one of the most successful couples from Love Is Blind, because they did not let the pressure from the producers push them to get married. They did not SK did not let the pressure from the producers force him to say I do. He did not let pressure from his family force him to say I do, but he worked at his own pace, made sure once he was settled, because he says apparently he had to move 4 days after the wedding, made sure that once he was settled, he apologized to Raven, and they are where they are, and I could not be proud of them. And you can see how they talk about each other, how they're very supportive, and they care about each other's feelings. Because, for example, when they're talking about the Batiste situation, Raven was expressing herself, but made sure to let it be known that SK was a very important part of her life, and whatever happened, she wanted to make sure that he was okay, and she did not appreciate him being disrespected. I loved that bit. But I digress. From the sorry, I had to jump a couple of scenes because I needed to talk about Raven and SK. So we move on to the couples. We get to see Colleen and Matt are still married, and Brennan and Alexa are still married. They both say they are very happy. I'll start off with Alexa and Brennan. Alexa and Brennan say, "Oh, think we've been getting along. Marriage is not as hard as people say. Yeah, we did have we did have issues with being roommates, but we've managed to work over that, and we seem to be doing amazing." And it's like, you don't need to convince everybody that things are going amazing. I think there's more to it than they're telling everybody else. I know people can get along and people can be in love, but there's always issues with adjustment. So for them to say they were having roommate issues and that's been their only problem since they proposed to one another or since they met in the pods, I don't know. Anyway, call me cynical. I don't know. And then they moved on to Cole and Colleen. And for me, I didn't like that whole scenario because I didn't feel that it was necessary for Brennan and Alexa to put in their two pence. I think their opinion was not needed. They should have kept their opinions to themselves. The fact that they decided to hold Cole accountable and let Colleen sort of slip away with it, it took Nick sort of asking Brennan that, why are you more upset with Cole than you are with Colleen? And his response was, well, Colleen had a conversation with Matt and she sort of they ironed it out. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's not just it's not just Colin and Matt that are affected by this. Why didn't Colin apologize to Zanab to say, Zanab, I'm so sorry. This is what happened, and that was never my intention. I got caught up in the moment, or whatever she said. And so I don't get why Brennan was coming with all the smoke. I really don't. I'm really upset by that. The fact that he he spent more time with Cole during the pods and than he spent with Zenab. And one would assume that having spent all that time, he would know Zenab Cole enough to know when Cole is lying or when Cole is not. And the fact that he couldn't bring himself to believe Cole when Cole was trying to explain himself and felt more inclined to believe what Zenab was saying makes me believe that his wife said, what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to be on the attack, and we're going to make sure that we put Cole in his place. I didn't like that. Um, I have to give credit to Batiste though, and to SK because Batiste sort of had to ask some questions because he ended up asking Zainab that if Cole was or that horrible, I think he first asked her, "When did you know you were going to say no?" And she said, "Well, I didn't know up until I got to the altar." And it's like, if Cole was that horrible, why did you stay married to him? Why didn't you say no? And that is a valid question because why did she say married to Cole if Cole was that mean and he broke her spirit and he did this and he stopped the eating and I think Zainab was just after breaking Cole because she was broken by the fact that he said he didn't. He'd rated. I think him rating Colin higher than her bruised her ego, and she never got over that. And this is why she was on a warpath and looking for anything and everything to make sure that she broke Cole, and she was going to find a fault with him and make sure that he paid for sort of embarrassing her. That's the opinion that I get. From there, they spoke about the Raven. Nancy, Bartiste and SK's situation where Bartiste was trying to sort of flirt with Raven, but it didn't work. The fact that he went and he told Nancy about Raven and was describing Raven and his opinion about Raven. I like the fact that SK was quick to acknowledge that. I appreciate Raven because she didn't fall. She was quick to put, you know, Batiste in his place and tell him that, I'm not interested. And surprised that Alexa and Brennan had nothing to say about Batiste. I would have assumed that they would have said something about Batiste having given the behavior he displayed and how he embarrassed Nancy, but they never said anything. I don't know whether it's because Nancy and Alexa don't seem to be as close as the other girls seem to be, think whatever Brennan and Alexa were doing was just for show and nothing else, not because they were really that interested. I think they came across as feeling as though they were more sort of superior than everybody else on the show. And so it left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And then we had the conversation about Nancy and Raven, and it was just they were just being petty. It was high school drama. I didn't take it seriously. I think Nancy is still. I think Raven has moved past it, whatever her issues were with Nancy, and I think she feels, all this drama about Baptiste is a thing of the past, and it's time to move on. So she apologized about how it might have made Nancy feel, and she spoke about how badly she felt, and the fact that Nancy's apology was not clear. because she said, "Oh, I was surprised that Raven and I were in Batista's top two and stuff." And it's like, Raven said no to Baptiste. When Baptiste tried to flirt with him, she still said no. She said she was happy with her partner. What else do you need in order for you to move on? After all, Baptiste embarrassed you at the altar. It's time for you to move on. Because she kept apologizing. I'm sorry, I have to say this, Baptiste. I'm sorry. And it's like, why do you keep apologizing to him? Do you still see a future with him? Why would you want a future with someone who embarrassed you and was disrespectful to your family? Baptiste then tried to justify, when he was asked about his feelings towards Raven, and this whole scenario was, oh, I had genuine feelings and stuff. And it's like, you ask them, to the producers, to make sure that they put some dollar notes everywhere when you said no to her. What do you mean you still had feelings? You didn't have feelings for Raven. You had feelings for the visual Raven, the one you saw, but you did not have feelings for the pod Raven. So please keep it moving. And then there was a conversation about Matt and Colleen, sort of Colleen having her own, still maintaining her own place, and Matt maintaining his own place. And to me, it didn't make sense, because Colleen said she lived with roommates and she didn't want to leave her roommates hanging, so she had to sort of wait a little bit until to extend her lease before she moved on and sort of moved in with Matt. And so I don't know, unless Matt is also living with housemates. I think Colleen should have just run out her lease and then moved in with Matt wherever he was living. And then from there, the two of them could have moved into their own separate place, unless their goal was to move into a neutral environment once both their leases are up. But I don't know. I don't know. I didn't quite understand it. I think Colleen looked very nervous. I don't think she was very nervous because she's unhappy in a marriage. I think she was nervous because she was worried about what was going to be brought up and how Matt was going to respond to that. So it was really just unnecessary drama, really. And then with
Batiste and Nancy, for me, are a couple that I haven't really understood the goal or the purpose of that relationship. Even back in the pods, I didn't get their connection. When they left their pods, I didn't get the connection. I felt it was more something that was more of a sexual attraction, in the sense that Nancy appreciated the fact that Batiste was quite young and quite good looking. Batiste, I think, was just on the show just to be on the show. His goal was never to marry anyone. He just wanted the publicity. And so I think this is why he chose Nancy, because he knew the possibility of him marrying her was unlikely, or him falling in love with her was unlikely. I think he played the game. And the fact that when they had the conversation about his comments about Raven, he didn't bring it upon himself. Yeah, he sort of apologized to everybody, but I would have appreciated a more heartfelt approach, sort of towards Nancy, his ex-fiance. The fact that even Nancy called him out on the fact that after a few days after saying no at the altar, he was already seen around town with somebody else. That I didn't get. But what I appreciated most about the Batiste segment is the fact that SK Raven started off by telling everyone that, she felt surprised that Batiste had the guts to say whatever he said to Nancy about Raven. And then the fact that she felt that it made SK feel some type of way, she didn't appreciate that, because this is someone she loves and she cares about. And so you could see on Batista's face, Batiste knows he lost his chance. He messed up when he screwed up with Raven, and I still don't think she would have agreed to marry him, because they are polar opposites, SK and Batiste. So I was applauding when SK said, I know my girl is a baddie and all, but I'm not intimidated by guys. When SK said, I'm not intimidated by the attention that by guys giving my lady attention, because at the end of the day, I know my girl is a baddie. She's stunning, but still, it wasn't appropriate for Batiste to go around and make the comments that he did, where he went and told Nancy about Raven and SK's first night, how they sort of had this distance between them and stuff. And I was applauding, because I really, that was holding him accountable. And he turned around and said, I'm sorry, brother, because he knew he was wrong and he couldn't have a back and forth, because SK doesn't, is straight to the point. He doesn't waste his time. He doesn't play childish games. So I was here for it. And I'm surprised that Brennan and Alexa were just there quietly, given how much smoke they gave Cole. Anyway, I digress.
Cole and Zainab, Cole, I give a lot of credit to Cole. Cole did say some of the some stuff that was a bit off, like rating the women and rating Zainab and Colleen, the fact that he sort of asked the bipolar question, and the fact that they did sort of have issues. I remember saying this, they have after their very first night after they made love, and then they were sort of very awkward with one another. And so personally, I am heartbroken for Cole, because Cole, you could see coming into the show, was already heartbroken, and you could see he was a broken man. His eyes looked red. I think he might have been crying just before he came onto the show. He's not his former self when he was in the pods, because I remember criticizing him in the pods when he made the comment about I don't do nurses. But I don't think, whatever his faults were, I don't think Zainab's actions are justified, because she broke him at the altar and then came with the intention of breaking him. She must have talked to the girls already and said whatever she said. When Baptiste asked her, why were your family clapping or your friends clapping when you said whatever you said at the altar, she didn't give a justifiable excuse. She said, no, I didn't tell anyone I wasn't going to say no. I was going to say no. I think they were just supporting me just because I'm their friend. And so I don't get why, after embarrassing him in front of his family, she came back to the reunion and decided to break him. And then when she realized she had broken him and she looked very bad, she started sort of making out, "Oh, I understand. I've forgiven you and of that." And for me, it doesn't make any sense. I I don't get why the girls were sort of. I understand Zainab is their friend. She must have told them, "Oh, he body shamed me. He did this. He did that." But with the clip that was shown at the end of the show, it doesn't justify her comments about Cole embarrassing her. And I don't get why she felt the need to carry on and say things, because none of the guys would justify her actions for, her comments about Cole flirting with a girl at the at the bachelor party and trying to kiss a girl and stuff. They did. Everybody did justify, did confirm that Batiste was flirting with a girl soon after he said no to Nancy at the altar. But no one would sort of agree with Zainab's comments about Cole, was getting a telephone number for someone. And I think Zainab is insecure. And I think Zainab, because of whatever past traumas, is easily offended. And so whatever Cole said or whatever Cole did, nothing was going to be right with her. And this is why she kept going and going and going, because she felt he had offended her. So she decided to break him and kept digging and digging and digging, and sort of made comments that, well, you're lucky that it wasn't shown on camera. They tried to use the same justification that was used for Shake in season 2, in the fact that, but the difference is, in season 2, everybody said yes, Shake was horrible to Dipti. It wasn't shown. He was edited amazingly, but it wasn't shown. And I like the fact that Cole asked the producers, when she said, "Oh, he body shamed me and he did this." Cole looked into the camera and asked them, "Can you please show the footage of whatever she's talking about?" And when the footage came out, it contradicted what Zainab had said. So I don't get why she felt the need to sort of um, be this angry with him. I know Matt tried to explain that, he was drunk when they had the bachelor party. When the guys were drinking, there were no girls there, and he got into an Uber and was taken home. And um, poor SK was like a fish out of water. He didn't want to be involved in all that drama. He just kept to himself, kept his eyes away from the drama, kept himself away from the drama and in his own little zone. And Batiste is the one who was sort of standing sort of beside um, call and sort of trying to stick up and ask questions. Because it seems Batiste was immune to everybody else's venom. No one would attack Batiste for some reason. I don't know whether they're concerned that it will be seen as racist if they all go after him, or whatever their justification was. I don't get it, because I don't understand why they had so much smoke for Cole but had no smoke for Batiste. That I didn't get. I wish Zainab is not able to. She was trying to hold Cole accountable, but is not willing to take responsibility for her own actions. It was shown how she picked him about the dirty flat, about cleaning, about cooking, about this, that, and the other, and she couldn't take time out of herself to say, "I'm so sorry, this didn't come across great." Cole tried to sort of laugh it off and say, "Oh, it wasn't as bad as it's been edited to be," but she didn't turn around and say, "Cole, I'm sorry." Lead by example. You say you've forgiven Cole. You were offended by Cole. You've just been shown to be disgracing him. Why not do the same and just apologize to him for the cameras? I know she wrote the sorry not sorry comment on her Instagram, which is just childish and petty. I wish someone had told her that the internet always wins. she's lucky she's turned off her comments, but the internet always wins. She might as well turn off her comments indefinitely because I know the internet is going to keep going and going and going until they break her. She can never fight with the internet because there are trolls on the internet who will do and say anything just to break someone. It was really sad how they treated Cole. I don't think Cole deserved as much venom as he got. I think even Sheikh, who was horrible to Dipti, didn't face as much, backlash as Cole did. Cole, that's not justified. I think she still, if nothing else, deserves to give Cole a public apology, just as much as she embarrassed him, not once but twice. So she embarrassed him at the altar, and she's now embarrassed him at the reunion. Up until Cole was crying, that's when she sort of turned around and sort of tried to make amends, but not apologize and still come out as, I think in her eyes, she wanted to come out the victim. I think in Zainab's eyes, she felt she was the victim and was going to play the victim card all the way until the end of the reunion. I don't know. It was a great episode. I think that the Lachey's were neutral in the sense that when all the back and forth was going on between sort of Zainab and Cole, they didn't say anything. They just sat there. They didn't comment. Even some of the comments that were being made by Zainab, yes, they would have the hairs at the back of your neck standing up, especially if you're a lady and someone is telling you, I stopped eating because of how you behave towards me. But still, I hope, if nothing else, once they see the comments, everybody's opinions are changed. I hope the cast members, their opinions are changed. Anyway, the truth will come out at some point. I digress. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye, everyone.